Hey, Glenn.
Well, welcome to episode 151 of Toolbox Tech Talk. I'm very pleased to have someone I've known a long time in this industry, a true solar pioneer, Craig Hunter from Xess. And that's X, but not with the Twitter mark on it.
That's correct, yeah.
So, you had a bit of a drive getting here. How'd you go?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. The drive was nice. It was a little bit wet, a little bit cold when I got up here, about 4 degrees, I think it was. But it has been cold in Melbourne and the whole of Victoria for the last 2 weeks. So you would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, we did get a little sprinkling of snow here at the lab. That was kind of fun. So what are you up to at the moment?
What I'm up to at the moment, I am working at Xess, so gone into partnership with ARL or Peter Watkinson. So I come on board there as a co-founder of the brand Xess, so into the off-grid space, manufacturing for off-grid solutions.
So you're actually a partner in the company?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Well, that's a change of your role, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Usually I work for people, but I decided, look, it was probably when I finished with Power Plus, I didn't know where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. One of the dreams I've always had, and you can see it in my career, I guess, that I've always worked with companies that have wanted to develop and grow themselves. I wanted to get involved with something myself. And, Peter happened to come along at the right time and he needed some expertise and I needed some expertise in technical as well. So here we are today.
Maybe we should give a little background about ARL and Peter Watkinson. So tell me a bit about that company.
So ARL has been around for, I'd have to be 30 to 40 years now, I'm guessing. They were the original developers of maximum PowerPoint tracking technology right here in Australia.
I have one on the shelf just here.
Oh, do you?
1991. Yep.
Well, there you go. And look, they're still out there going today. And the ARL, it went through a bit of a change over a period of time when Stuart Watkinson, the original founder, actually passed away, sadly, and it went for a bit of a change. But the second generation, Peter Watkinson, came in to the business probably about 6 years ago now, and he's reinvigorated ARL and reinvigorated the whole brand and developing a whole new range of ARL maximum PowerPoint trackers and battery modules. And he had a dream of this brand called Xess, getting into full solutions, and that's where we ended up with the Xess brand.
Right, so ARL was just MPPTs and galvanic protection devices.
Correct, yeah.
For the first 30 years or so, and now you're adding energy storage and the complete suite with inverters as well.
Yeah, the whole suite, yeah. So you've got conversion technology on the AC side and then your DC conversion and storage technology as well.
Yeah, cool. So why Xess? I mean, what's its market difference from other products?
The market difference, I guess, that we're trying to achieve with Xess is there's two main focuses. One is to make off-grid easy. So off-grid over a period of the last 30 years, 40 years, or even 100 years, should I say, has been a bit of a piece together. You're choosing batteries from here, maximum PowerPoint trackers from here, AC conversion equipment from here. What we're trying to do is to bring it all together in one nice, neat solution that, one, looks good on the wall, and two, also has a great functionality of expandability, reliability, and redundancy to offer the off-grid experience for the consumer. One, being an exceptional experience during a outage or if a problem with a system, but also the installer, making it very, very simple to install.
You're going to put me out of a job, which is training people on the complexities of installing off-grid systems. I totally agree with you. We needed to simplify it. We need more people doing it, and it shouldn't be a PhD in off-grid. It should be electrical safety, basic electrical knowledge, piece of cake.
That's it. One of the things I noticed just through my career is the amount of time that's spent on site installing these systems, and it's all down to human error, I guess, when you're running cables everywhere, and then that part when it comes to commissioning, and then you've got to fault find an issue that may be there, and it's going back through the whole process of cables running everywhere, comms cables, connections, and that. It just makes sense that if you can simplify and take most of that out of the site and putting it into the product, there's less chance of error when they're doing the installation.
Just so you know what we're talking about, I'm going to bring up on screen in a minute just some shots of the Xess product range. Now, just tell me about the range.
So it's two ranges, I guess. We have the Xess One and the Xess Ion. So the Xess One is an all-in-one standalone power system. And what I mean by all-in-one is it's a nice looking product that sits on the wall. So the idea of it is it can be put in an area of feature rather than tuck it away in a back shed. But essentially inside there you have up to 2 maximum PowerPoint trackers can be inserted into the unit, and up to 4 battery inverters can be inserted into it. And it's a simple plug and play sort of scenarios. 8 screws, take the cover off, slide in your battery modules, slide in your inverter modules or your maximum power point tracker modules, and away you go.
Right. So it's really modular, but why 4 inverters? Why not 1?
The idea is for the redundancy. So we all know that any product that's built in the world is not perfect. There's going to be teething issues, or there's going to be product problems down the track. Or as things get old, you may have things like fans that may need to be replaced in the product, or capacitors that may dry out in them as well. So rather than having the whole system go down, so I now have a 1 inverter or an inverter that has failed under a pretense, rather than having the whole system go down, 1 inverter can come offline, can tell you or alert you that there's a problem with that inverter, but the other 3 inverters would still be operational, powering the home and allowing you to hot swap the other inverter in and out.
Hot swap. So is this a service call, or the system operator can do this?
Look, we'd probably recommend a system, a service call by someone. One of the beautiful things about how simple it is we know that a lot of off-grid companies may do installations 800 kilometres away or 900 kilometres away. It's so simple and easy that essentially you don't need to really drive those 800 Ks. You could potentially employ the local electrician or local technician in the area to come do the work for you.
Right. So you take the spare, the replacement modular inverter. Do you have to then, spend half a day programming it?
No, you don't. It's all plug and play. So essentially you take 8 screws off, lift the cover off, slide this unit in there, and it's a cluster programming approach. So it will get programmed by the other 4 inverters that are in there, and it'll reprogram it to exactly what it's supposed to be doing and then go.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
It learns from each other.
You're correct.
Wow, that's amazing. And in terms of the modularity of the MPPT, why 2 MPPTs?
2 MPPTs gives you the ability to obviously have more PV inputs. So each maximum power point tracker can have 2 times its rating of PV input to what it can charge at. So they're 4 kilowatt MPPTs is what they are. So 8 kilowatts of PV you can put on. And once again, it does give you a level of redundancy at the same time. If that was one maximum power point tracker with dual inputs, for argument's sake, if that stops working, then you can't, you've lost your solar totally. Whereas if one stops working, you still have a redundancy of another one still working.
You're really big on redundancy. I can see that.
It's a massive thing. So one of the things we've got I've learned from the off-grid is it's usually in the worst timing when a system goes down. It's usually someone's birthday, or it's Christmas, or it's they've gone down to their holiday property to sort of go and have a weekend away, and it's gone down, and they're really expecting the installer or the original company installed it to come and really service this product and get their power going again. Because we know not everybody has generators. We prefer everybody to have generators, but not everybody does. And so what this does is it takes that urgency out of it. So if something does go wrong, they've still got power. So you don't have to rush to site to fix their problem. You might tell them to turn a few loads off, but essentially you don't have to rush out there. You can go out there on your next service call and deal with it.
Well, so if you had the full 2 MPPTs and 4 modular inverters, you've got a lot of redundancy built in there.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. It's happened to me too, like back in probably early 90s, I think, your alma mater, Selectronic, had a SA21 that got struck by lightning, took the power board out. It was Christmas Eve, sorry, and there were lots of people coming for Christmas. The good people at Selectronic sent me a replacement board with instructions on how to fit it.
Nice.
Yeah. Did take more than a few days though. But anyway, mail isn't that fast at that time of the year.
No, it's not.
But it was pretty amazing. But yeah, if I'd had modular inverters, I wouldn't have even cared. I'd just go, we just don't run the hairdryer today.
One of the beautiful things about the Xess One and its modularity is that you can essentially start with the smallest system and expand it as well over time. So you could essentially start with 1 maximum power point tracker and 2 battery inverters. And then as the load on site that increases, because we know that load does change on all sites, and we see that quite regularly where system needs to be either pulled out and a new one put in or expanded. You can simply just put these modules in and expand and grow the system as it goes.
So the minimum spec, 1 MPPT would take up to 8 kilowatts of solar.
Correct.
And 2 inverters, what sort of power level are you getting?
4.8 kilowatts of output and 5.4 kilowatts of input.
Right. So when you say input from what?
From an AC source, say from a generator in a sense, or the grid. So the products are a true UPS style product. So they're an isolated input to output. So your generator or the grid does not feed through to the load. The load is always powered by the Xess One or by the battery system essentially.
Right. So we've been talking very much about the off-grid world, but this is a solution for on-grid. Why would you want a UPS system if you're on-grid?
UPS is for critical loads, I guess. So These days, feed-in tariffs aren't quite that high anymore. So sometimes what is the point in feeding in the energy into the grid? And true UPS gives you the ability to run critical infrastructure. So a lot of people work from home these days. A lot of people might be doing what you're doing here, Glenn, with all of these nice cameras and everything going, where essentially if you have an interruption, it could mean that the whole thing goes down. So,
right. So I'm just wondering if this is a thing with DNSPs, or to use common language, utilities limiting you on AC power that you can parallel with the grid. Does that impact on the Xess product? If they say 5 kVA max, does that affect you?
We don't believe it does. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, and feel free to come in. It's a UPS product, and it's a true UPS. It's certified to UPS standards.
Yep.
It has 240,000 hours of testing behind the product. It's military specifications. So it doesn't, as far as we're concerned, need approvals to do so. It's a UPS. It does not allow backfeed to the grid at all. It does not allow energy to flow in two directions.
Right. So if you're a customer who already has solar, and let's say you've maxed out your allowance, you've got a 6.6 kilowatt PV, 5 kilowatt single phase inverter, and the utility says, sorry, you can't have any more, you may be able to add an Xess system because it's UPS.
Correct.
Right. And then put another 8 or 16 kilowatts of solar on, and up to 4.6 kilowatts of inverter power?
Up to 9.6 kilowatts when you've got all of them in there.
So, 9?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so you have 4 of them. It's up to 9.6 kilowatts of AC output and 10.8 kilowatts of input.
Right. Now, in terms of starting at like big loads off grid, what's the peak like?
The peak is 200% for 2 seconds to get through those motor starts.
Yep.
And then it's 125% for another 15 seconds after that.
Okay. So as long as you size it for those peaks, you're
That's
you're
correct,
all good.
yeah. And look, this is the first release of the product, so it's for a single phase application, 1 Xess ones.
Yep.
However, the next couple of months we'll be releasing 3 phasing, so multiples of them in a 3-phase configuration, and also parallel stacking as well.
So multiple X1s.
Correct, yes.
Is it called XS1?
XS1, yeah.
XS1s, model XS1s to give either more single phase power or potentially 3-phase.
Correct, yes.
Wow, that's going to be cool. What about the Ion? What's that?
So the Xess Ion is our LFP battery, so it's a lithium-ion battery. 5.1 kilowatt hours is what the battery is. And it's a managed battery, but also a self-managed battery at the same time.
Better explain what that is.
What we've done is there's 2 type of battery configurations, or I guess connection types that most people go with in Australia. You either have a managed battery, which is a communication cable from the battery to the inverter. So the battery and the inverter essentially talk to each other, or the inverter listens anyway, and the battery tells it how much energy it can take or how much charge it it wants and how much voltage it wants at the same time, and the inverter responds to that. And also if it wants to shut down, it sort of tells the inverter to shut down, or it pulls itself offline. And then you have a self-managed battery, which works more like your lead-acid traditional batteries, where the actual battery essentially looks after itself, but you pre-program the connected PCE to actually charge like you would a lead-acid. So set your charge profiles and away it goes. And what the lithium battery does is just looks at what's going on and protects itself usually from over temperature, over current, and over voltage protection is what they usually have inside them, and under voltage as well.
Right, so you can do both.
We can do both. So the reason we do both is because we wanted the best of both worlds for ultimate reliability in an Xess system. So it's a managed system. So once again, plug and play, plug your comms cable in, automatically programs, understands what's in the system. The Xess One adheres to what the batteries require and what they don't require, and listens to what it's got to do. But in the event that, say, the communication cable happens to go astray, it could be corrosion over time, it could be someone's pulled it out, and the system doesn't turn off like you would expect with most managed systems. The Xess Ion automatically goes into self-managed mode, and the Xess One goes into voltage control mode.
Yes,
and they just operate like a self-managed operation.
Yes.
You'll get alerts for your remote monitoring telling you that something has gone wrong. But once again, you don't have to rush to site to fix this problem. You can go back to site when it's convenient for the installer to go back to site to rectify the situation.
I think I'll dumb this down for the audience too. I've got some managed batteries here, and if I was turning off their PCE, their inverter that's connected to them for often only 10 seconds or more, sometimes not very long, the battery goes, I've got no manager, I'm going to shut down and be safe, which means you've got no battery anymore. And some of them require you to open the cover and flick a big switch to turn them back on again. That's not really a nice experience for a high reliability system, whereas your batteries can fall back into self-managed.
Correct.
They don't just get out of there. They go into safe mode, as it were, and still can operate.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, right.
And once again, that's the off-grid sort of experience we want people to have. It's the ultimate reliability and the system having a guaranteed uptime for as long as it can, basically.
I remember your old boss, Lindsay Hart, giving another simple analogy for managed and self-managed batteries. So a managed battery is kind of like a car driving towards a cliff and you've got a rope that you can just pull on it and stop it going over, whereas a self-managed is a little sign at the end there, don't drive over the end.
Correct, yeah, 100%.
Oh, cool. So would you sell the Xess Ion separately, so it's for other inverters to use?
Definitely, you can. So you can use the Xess Ion in self-managed mode with your favorite connected, favorite PCEs that you may want to choose to connect them with, or it can also work in managed operation with certain brands. So we're going through all the brands at the moment to determine which ones they can work with effectively. But at the moment, we've got two that they can work with: is Victron and Day.
Yep.
So Day gives you the ability to do an on-grid system, I guess, or a hybrid system using the the Xess Ion. But essentially, we're looking at other brands that they can be used. We prefer that you probably buy a whole solution from us. And the reason for that is that it's one person supporting the brand and it's one person supporting your system, and we can support you more effectively.
Okay. Well, let's say I'm greedy and I start off with Xess One and Xess Ion system, and I've maxed it out. I've got my, the 4 inverters, 2 MPPTs, and a full battery stack. How big's a full battery stack, by the way?
Full battery stack is at the moment up to 320 kilowatt hours.
Oh, okay. I'm getting real greedy now. So I've got a lot of batteries. Let's say I want more inverter power. Can I parallel more Xess Ones?
You will be. So at the moment, we're releasing it in single phase. We're just doing the testing at the moment of the communications, and it's all works. It's all there ready to go.
Yep.
So what we're trying to do here at Xess is we're not trying to release a whole new product to market. What we've done is a lot of work that ARL has done over the last 2 years of integration of different brands and technologies. We're bringing it together in one nice solution is what we're doing. So it's just a matter of testing it, writing the documentation, and make sure we can support the customer when they're doing the installation. So
right. Thinking of documentation, I still remember the first ARL manual that Peter's dad, Stuart, produced. He was very environmentally sound sort of guy and didn't want to waste paper, so the line spacing was like 0.5. All the text was all crunched up together on a piece of paper.
I guess these days we do a little bit different with the QR code, don't we? So
That's right. Now, you've been involved with off-grid for a long time. What's changed about the world of off-grid?
The world of off-grid, I guess, is the way it's changed is it's not just throw something together now for as cheap as you can using equipment that you don't understand. So you just find a battery and we've turned it into a real trade and art form now. So the good installers out there and the good system designers out there for off-grid, they really understand what the customer's needs are and understand the experience that the customer expects in an off-grid scenario. So we have a lot of people these days that are choosing to go off-grid rather than we're just off-grid, so I'm going to put a few solar panels and a couple of camping batteries out there. A lot of people now are choosing to go off-grid and want to have the same reliability as what they would get from the grid. So there's a lot of systems have been developed now over the last 20, 25 years, I guess, for that ultimate reliability and to offer that same experience to the consumer.
Right. So it's not off-grid as in camping anymore. It's just no utility bills.
That's correct, yeah. And they want the same reliability and they also want the same response time, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed personally the trend is that for a lot of greenfield sites now, people aren't even bothering connecting to the grid, even though it's in the street, even from an economic perspective.
It's probably because it's too expensive half the time.
Yeah.
So I've got some property in central Victoria, and this was about 10 years ago. We did an exercise on bringing the power through. It was a 2-kilometre run for the cables to come through, and the bill came out at $10 million just to get it to 22 properties that were on the street. And that didn't include if the council required underground cabling in certain areas and replanting of the trees that came down as well.
So like basically $500,000 a house.
Correct, yeah.
Jeez.
One of them was still keen to go ahead. I wasn't.
Wow. Okay. That's amazing. I mean, I think the other aspect is you might actually have the grid. So it's a swirl line. If you're not familiar with that, if you're not in Australia, single wire earth return, really bad idea. And you've got limited capacity. You might have 10 kVA maximum capacity and you want more. Can your product work with that?
Definitely it can.
Yep.
So you can definitely have a smaller charging capacity to the output capacity. And also it's a UPS as well, so you won't actually see that interruption in power at all, as long as your battery is big enough to handle however long the interruption is. But it's obviously going to filter out all those brownouts that you're going to see as well. So
you turn low quality, unreliable SWR into a higher capacity, high reliability service.
100%, yes.
I like it. Yep. And there's a lot of SWR in the area where I live in the Yarra Valley. It's amazing, all these vineyards and stuff, and they've got little single wires running to the manager's property. Yeah, it's pretty basic. So a little bit of a change in direction now. A bit interested in your solar journey. Now, I called you a solar pioneer because how long have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry now since 1998, so that's 26 years. So my journey started at Selectronic, a brand that everybody on here should probably understand and recognise, one of the great pioneers of, I guess, the Australian off-grid solar industry. I started with those guys in 1998 as a transformer winder, so winding their transformers that went into sort of telco applications or into the inverter technology that they were doing at the time. And over probably a 2-year period, I guess I'm one of those people that can't sit still too long. I need to be bettering myself or learning new things or understanding new things. So over a matter of about 2 years, I took on designing transformers, implementing them in production, doing prototypes and running the test department. To the next step was obviously doing the sales of the transformers, and then naturally progressed into the sales of inverters as well. And then worked at Selectronic for another 12 years, I guess, doing selling of inverters and doing their training program with Lindsay Hart and the team that we had there at the time. And after about 12 years, the time had come I needed to sort of maybe try a few different things. So I went across to a company called Solar Inverter Services, actually, now known as SI Clean Energy or Megawatt Power, with Peter Polanyi, who's been in the industry for almost as long as everybody else has been. The older guys have been in the industry. And then to Power Plus after them, Power Plus Energy, and worked with those guys for 5 years. So predominantly in the sales or technical sales roles is where I've been, and assisting with growing businesses and taking them to the next level is what I find the most exciting things about business, I guess.
Right. So from the ground up, literally from the components through inverters, through battery systems, understanding market needs, customer needs, all of that. And you've brought all that together as in your role as a partner in Xess.
Yeah, I have. I guess I have. So I like to understand a product that I'm selling.
Yeah.
You've got to have passion about a product. You've got to understand, I believe, how it's actually constructed and go together. And I think having a manufacturing background like I have, and being involved with Australian manufacturers my whole way through, you get to appreciate what it is that you're building and you're selling at the end of the day.
So if you were to time travel and talk to younger Craig way back in 1998, would you give any advice about his journey?
Yeah, I probably would. I'd probably say think about your career earlier rather than thinking about it later. I enjoyed my teens and enjoyed growing up and was more involved, I guess, with having fun and socialising rather than taking life too seriously. So my advice is probably take life a little bit seriously a little bit earlier.
And don't have fun.
You've got to have fun, but you can have fun along the way, not just neglect what you're doing. So, but probably his understanding is probably what I'd say is to probably apply yourself a little bit earlier in life, but also understand that there are no boundaries in life as well. Take risk and seize an opportunity. If you see an opportunity, you don't think that you're not good enough for it. Actually see the opportunity and go for it, because all you can do is fail and learn from it.
Yeah, I guess this industry too is growing, so it's a great industry to take opportunities with, as opposed to maybe coal mining. So for those people watching who are thinking about getting involved in the solar industry, would you have any advice to them?
I would say know your product, know your market, and know your people, and understand your capabilities of who you are and what you want to do. You're not everything to everybody. So it may be that Grid Connect is what you're good at and what you want to do. Grid Connect, you can essentially install a system and walk away to a degree. You may have to do some service stuff on it 10 years down the track. If you're going to get into hybrid and probably then again more so off-grid, you're really married to the system. So you need to have that ability to service, maintain and look after that client on a long-term basis. So understanding what it is that you want to do and what areas you want to focus on, and then be good at it and excel at it.
And I guess from a company's perspective, you want a company that's been around and it's going to stay around. I mean, look at Xess's history. You've been around since 1983 in one form or another.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, because of the partnerships, I guess, for ARL and those sorts of things. But you need to know who's behind a company and, how long the company's been around for.
Yeah, cool. Well, it's been great talking to you, but I do have one last question. Have you broken any bones lately, Craig?
No. I stay off all the toys now, so I leave that to my son to do now. So
It was for a while there. Every time I saw you had a splint on this or something.
yeah, it's actually been about 4 years now since I've broken anything.
Oh,
so
right.
I just get repercussion in pains from all the places I have broken it. So
That's cool. Well, I'd like to invite you to come check out our new solar panel testing station here. So let's go and check it out.
okay, let's go.
Cool. Hey, Craig, I just wanted to show you our little solar panel testing site here. Now, this is not something I've done. This is actually a company called P-Vision. They're China-based, but they have sites all around the world in Italy, China, Thailand, Sydney, and now Mount Tilibuong.
There you go. You're on the map.
Yeah. Come and check it out. So the thing with solar panel testing, and this is not public testing, this is for actual manufacturers of panels, is to find out how their panels perform in different climate zones. So these companies, I won't say who they are, they want to know how their panels work. So let's just have a look. There we go. That's one of the test arrays, and they've got these amazing monitoring equipment. Now, that's a weather station, right? No big deal. You've probably got one at home, right? Yeah. Do you have a wind speed and direction sensor?
Yeah, I do, up on the roof.
And what's it look like?
It's the weather vanes.
Yeah.
Looking thing.
So this is the wind speed and direction sensor. How does it do it?
Electronic sensors underneath there, is that what it is?
LiDAR. These things here are sensing the particles passing by,
Dust.
and it measures speed and direction without any moving parts. That blew me away. Yeah. So yeah, this the tech has really improved a lot. That's a rain gauge. In terms of the solar, they're monitoring horizontal solar radiation data, inclined at the same angle of the panel,
Yep.
UV at the same angle of the panel, albedo, which is the reflection off the ground. And since we've done all the site works here, you probably notice it's a lot of brown dirt. So our albedo at the moment is only about 5%.
Okay.
But once it greens up a bit, I think it's probably going to be a bit higher, maybe up to 10. And we might sneak a few white sheets out one day and see what happens. Yeah, so there you go.
Brands are you going to have here?
Possibly, I think on this site, 10 brands, but we've got another site with probably 100 brands.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's up to them to choose the companies, or the companies choose them. So yeah, this is going to be one of the international sites for solar panel monitoring.
You're on the map, as I said. Mount Tilibuong. Be famous.
Cool. Anyway, let's get out of the cold.
Yes, let's go.